the one that think like the Mike Michael, you better think. Because I'm going to tell you something. Your families better fight like this family did. You better say it. I'm telling you. Justice for them all.
Justice for them all.
Now, the defendants are already serving life sentences in prison after being convicted last year of murder in state court. And it is important to note, tomorrow is the 2nd anniversary of Arbery's killing. All right, still with me, former trial and appellate attorney, Dr. Tracy Pearson, and she is in Los Angeles. Tracy, 4 hours of deliberations means this jury was pretty much convinced. Your thoughts on the verdict?
What a tremendous day for the Arbery family. This was a watershed moment in Georgia, and I am so pleased that these folks were held accountable. That young man was hunted, and he was murdered for no other reason than being Black. And I am so incredibly grateful for the system to have worked this time.
You know, sentencing's coming up. As we said, they're already serving life sentences. The only one with the possibility of parole is Roddy Bryan. But I think it's worth discussing what this judge might do. She actually threw out a plea deal that took away her discretion as far as sentencing and where they could spend it. She seemed to be concerned about the family's concern, the idea that they want these guys to spend their time in state prison. What do you suspect might happen at sentencing? There is the possibility of life in prison as a result of these charges, the fact that a death resulted from these hate crimes. Your thoughts on that?
Well, the statute allows for life in prison if a death results or if it's the result of a attempted kidnapping or kidnapping. And in this case, it hit all the check marks. Not only did death result, but there was a conviction for an attempted kidnapping. I think that it's going to depend on the pre-sentencing report that the judge receives. But I'm leaning in the direction of a life sentence, given the gravity of the charges.
Any sense whether she'll run it concurrently or she'll say, okay, it runs concurrent, but you'll spend it in state prison, or, you know, maybe consecutive, but you'll do your time in state. And, you know, if in fact, you know, for whatever reason, you'll go to federal prison sometime later on in life.
I suppose it depends on how angry she is and how troubled she is by this case. You know, typically they'll allow the state sentence to serve first and then transfer over unless there's an arrangement otherwise. But because it's 2 life sentences potentially, it's probably going to run concurrent. I'm trying to think of a reason for why that wouldn't happen, and I don't think I can think of one here. I don't think that, you know, a potential appeal could disrupt one or the other.
Fair enough, and I agree with you there. Also, earlier, I had misspoke when I was talking about this case. I said it was total victory for the family. But in essence, it's not, and I'll tell you why. And I'm going to play this sound here from Ben Crump. According to him, they still have work to do. Let's listen.
We're going to continue to make sure the course is tracked, that everybody who was responsible for the lynching of Ahmaud Arbery, and in the aftermath, the cover-up, the conspiracy, that they will be held accountable. Because just like what's happening in Minneapolis with the other officers, it's this culture. It's this incestuous culture between police officers and prosecutors that let far too many Black people in America be unjustly killed, and then they try to cover it up. And so the cover-up is having blood on Jackie Johnson's hands as well. Not only on this murderous trio, but also on anybody who tried to cover this up, sweep it under the rug, and say that Ahmaud Arbery's life didn't matter.
So there it is, Dr. Pearson. Still more work to be done. They called out Jackie Johnson. She, of course, is facing charges. We remember this was swept under the rug. People saw this video, decided not to press charges. People apparently were told not to pursue it. So your thoughts on how that might end up going forward as far as Jackie Johnson is concerned?
Well, it's premature for me to predict anything, but I think that she's looking at some accountability here. You know, anyone who is involved should be held accountable. We rely on our prosecutors and our police officers to uphold the law, to enforce the law. And in this situation, it took the public pressure in order to make this happen, in order to hold these folks accountable, both in state and federally. And unfortunately, I think that is not going to be an abnormal situation. I think for some time we're going to have to enforce these laws through public pressure.
All right, and the reckoning continues, right? At the end of the day, that's what this is all about. All right, Doctor, stand by. We're going to turn now to Minnesota. Closing